So this month has been flying by at ludicrous speed. I'm terrified we're going to get to the end of the month without all the things that need doing having been done. But if I'm being honest, we've gotten a lot done. Even though it's been one fire after the next, we ain't burned yet.
We'll get back to talking about the updates in just a bit, but over here on the B plot, I figured I'd show you the route we've been taking driving up to the property and some of our favorite stops along the way. So let's start at the beginning. We stop in Beatty for three reasons. The number one being the Death Valley Nut and Candy Company. This place sells bulk bags of candy with a ton of variety. Athena and I always treat ourselves every time we roll through. The second reason is because there is always donkeys here. Athena and I think that Beatty should rename itself Donkey Nevada, because they are literally everywhere. So I wanted to talk about the history of each of these towns, but as it turns out, they've all got the same origin. I'll talk a little bit about Beatty, but you can pretty much copy and paste this to every small town in Nevada. So Beatty was settled because of mining in the area. It boomed when there was gold in them thar hills, and has since settled into what it is today. And it's the same for all of them. Unique little towns with their own character and community that exist nowhere like Nevada. So the third reason I didn't get a great shot of. There's a barbecue place here that we recently got to try called Smokin' Jay's. We tried the ribs and the brisket, and both were fantastic. My only gripe is their sides are transparently phoned in. Jay, if you're listening, you need a couple kinds of barbecue sauce, man, not just your favorite. And you don't serve 2 slices of good value bread with your blue ribbon ribs. They deserve better than that. You serve rolls with some sweet butter. So after getting snacks and seeing some donkeys, it's back on the road.
So first, the good news. We sold the house. We didn't get the full $80,000 that we had hoped for, but at $72,000, I still think it's a win. We ended up taking a cash offer. We considered letting it sit on the market a little bit to try to squeeze a little more out of it, but when we mathed out the cost of staying in Vegas for a few more months, plus paying $20,000 or more for a closing cost, it made the most sense to just sell right now. Now this means our budget's a little short, and to remind everyone, neither of us are working right now, so every dollar counts. But a win is a win, and we'll take as many as we can get right now.
Goldfield is our second stop. This town is both sketchy and endearing. Do you want to guess why it was settled? Anyway, we've been packing our lunch to cut down on the cost of trips up and back, and Goldfield offers something that no other town has, an open to the public car forest. So we eat our lunch while looking at art. One guy made all of these, then turned his property public. You can see these things from the freeway, and they're pretty cool up close. After eating, we went exploring and found this cool stage built along the side of a tour bus. And inside this bus is pretty awesome. It looks like something out of GTA. Once we got on stage, we both felt kind of weird, and then for a brief moment, pure rock flowed into us. And then it was time to get back on the road.
Okay, now the bad. Now, Winnemucca is kind of booming right now. There's a lithium mine opening up just to the north, and so KB Homes is building 500 homes on this terraced mountain out towards the edge of Winnemucca. It's going to bring in a lot of people, but what it's doing for us is it's using up all of the people that we would normally hire to do the infrastructure jobs that we need to make the property ready, specifically the well. So we called 3 different places. I left 6 to 7 different messages with each of them. The ones that did get back to me told me that the wait times are anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. So we did finally get a hold of somebody in Winnemucca who can do a well, a company named Bruce McKay. He was one of the only ones that answered. He came out, he surveyed the property, and he was real genuine. He was real cool, and he brought his dog, so I knew he wasn't a total piece of shit. He didn't charge us for the survey, and he was pretty quick to get back with a quote. Unfortunately, that quote was $45,000. That's just the well. It's another $10,000 for the pump. Now, if you watched the last episode, you know that I had $35,000 set aside for both the well and the septic. This means we're already $20,000 over the budget. Now, like I said before, we can cannibalize some from the solar. I'll probably take 10 from there, and then I'm going to have to pull another 10 from the time that we were going to buy ourselves in order to settle the property. So that gets cut in half, 14 months down to 6 months of time paid for to let us settle the property. It's pretty devastating, but not insurmountable. We can pull funds from the other 2 places like we talked about and still scrape by. It's not going to be ideal, but we're still on the property with the most essential resource, water.
Tonopah is the next town, but I was soured on it pretty early on in our trips up, so now I slow way down and drive right through. See, all these small towns exist against the highways, and as you come into town, they slow you down from 80 to 60 to 45 down to 25. And then they make you crawl through town at a snail's pace. Now, they'll tell you it prevents accidents and keeps people safe and blah blah blah. I am sure that's all true. But you and I know that that is a side effect. And the real reason is so they can ticket random assholes as they pass through. Now, I will not say that I am a good driver, but I will tell you that I am a fast driver. And my edge makes 90 feel like 60, and 25 feel like 5. So I get pulled over doing 37. And this guy cry screams at me while turning red to purple. I will say that he did not give me a ticket. But I will also say that it is most likely because halfway through his tantrum, he had a moment of clarity and was as embarrassed by himself as I was witnessing it. Anyway, I'm sure Tonopah is fine. Our next actual stop is Carvers. And get this, the place was settled because of mining. But what makes it unique is that it's unincorporated. That means there's no official government here. We stop here every time no matter what. We fill up on gas, there's a sandwich shop inside that's great, and there's gazebos in the back where you can stretch out for a bit. I'm thinking this will be a place we stop to let the dogs out during the move up.
Okay, with the good and the bad out of the way, let's talk about the ugly. So, There is a road that goes into the property. We've talked about this road before, and it was one of the main reasons we actually bought this property. Unfortunately, that road's not owned by Humboldt County, and it's not owned by Golconda. It is owned by the Nevada Department of Transportation, or NDOT. And this wouldn't be a huge issue, as NDOT does deal with easements and access to rural properties. The problem we're having is that this road runs through what they call a materials yard. And a materials yard, as the name implies, is where they store their materials for their projects. This is for things like expanding a lane on the highway or creating a new off-ramp or bridge. It is their ready-made area to do construction projects, and they hate it when people drive through those things. So Athena's been handling the reins on this thing and fighting the good fight, but every time we trace another route to try to get to our property using existing easements, they deny us. Now, at first, we didn't think this was a huge issue. Really, what we're trying to do is get an address so that we can get mail sent to the property, or Athena's mother can get her medication, and that emergency services can get to us, as well as have a forwarding address for all of our existing mail. But come to find out, in Humboldt County, if you don't have an address, you cannot get a septic tank.
So Austin isn't somewhere we stop, as it's one of the most expensive towns along the route, but being a mountain town, it's also one of the prettiest. It rests in the middle of the Toyabe National Forest, and the pass through the mountain can be pretty hairy in the winter months. Oh, and there are these birds. I don't know what they're called, but they are determined to go extinct. The fucking things hang out by the side of the road, they wait for you to come close, and then when you drive by, they panic and fly every which way. We hit half a dozen of these things, and I quickly went from, oh no, I hit a bird, to, well, I hope future generations aren't so fucking stupid. Early on, we tried other routes to Golconda, looking to avoid the Toyabe Pass because of how narrow and windy the road is through the mountain. But because the other routes add 1 to 2 hours of travel time, it's become a preferred route, and after being up and back so many times, I don't even worry about it. I am worried about getting our destination trailer through it, but that's tomorrow's problems. I got enough today.
So that's where we're at. We have 20 more days until we have to be out of Vegas. The property isn't ready yet. The well is scheduled for the first 2 weeks of May. We're going to be up there May 1st. The septic tank is an unknown variable right now. If we don't get an address, we can't get a septic. I've had to cannibalize the solar and our free time. It is just one disaster after another. If I had it all to do over again, I would absolutely plan this out a little bit better, and I wouldn't pull the trigger on things so early. I thought that 60 days was more than enough to get the property ready and get us out. And as it turns out, I should have doubled that. Will it work out? Will we get on the property and eventually get that septic and all will be settled? Or will we get out there, find out the property is uninhabitable, and be forced to migrate into a trailer park where we slowly rot and I disappoint everybody I love?
Our last stop is Battle Mountain. This place introduced me to Mavericks gas stations, and let me tell you, between them and Flying J's, my standards for what a good truck stop is have been elevated. So when we first started driving up, our costs were $300 to $500 there and back. That includes gas, lodging, and food. but we've cut costs by packing lunches and being smart about the gas stations we visit along the way. And now that we're being more conscious about it, we've got it down to $200 to $300 round trip. But this time out, I turned in the change I'd been hiding inside my bat pig. Inside this guy was $175, which let us cut down the trip to $60 total. From Battle Mountain, it's a straight shot down our favorite highway, Interstate 80. And then Golconda and home in less than 20 days. You know, as hectic and challenging as it's been so far, I am still genuinely excited for what comes next. Will it work out, or will we be shitting in buckets? I am nervous to find out.